week 3 of the fantasy football season. And here's a few wide receivers I have as sleepers this week. The first guy, Jayden Reed of the Green Bay Packers. So last week, Reed, he went out there and had a monster ball game over Romeo Doubs with 4 catches, 37 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. And even week 1 at Chicago in that one, 2 catches, 48 yards on 5 targets. So this week here, not the greatest of matchups versus New Orleans Saints coming to town in the Packers home opener. But right now, Christian Watson, it's not looking good once again that he's going to play in this ball game. So Jayden Reed, he's going to be the number 2 wide receiver for this Green Bay Packer team. And so far, him and Jordan Love definitely have a good rapport, I believe, of these 2 guys. So right now, Watson missing practice on Thursday, obviously never a good sign. And Reed, so far, he's been playing a bunch of snaps and playing for this team. So right now, that hamstring injury definitely could be lingering for the majority of the season here with Christian Watson, especially a wide receiver, relies on cutting. He's very athletic as well and has a lot of speed. So right now, if Watson's out once again, I think Reed is a flex option or a number 3 wide receiver in your league. Isn't bad this week. So he's definitely a guy that you should pick up off the wire and is a sleeper option available right now in 82% of leagues. Next receiver is Tank Dell with the Houston Texans. Tank Dell coming into the season, he definitely was a deep sleeper and a guy to stash coming into the year. So right now, the first couple weeks, he's working his way into the lineup. Going on injury reserve after week 1. And week 2, we had a breakout game as Dell, 7 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown on 10 targets. So this week here, it's beatable, I think, at the Jacksonville Jaguars versus a mediocre secondary and a ball game where they're going to be chasing points once again is this Houston Texan team. So a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. I know they got, obviously, Nico Collins, Robert Woods, but right now Tank Dell operating as the 3rd receiver on this team and a slot guy. But him and CJ Stroud, the 2 rookies, are on the same page. And this week here in a good matchup at Jacksonville, like I said, where I think he can make plays and a lot of garbage time we could see as well. Tank Dell's available right now in 76% of fantasy leagues. And a sleeper this week in the 3rd and final wide receiver I have as a sleeper is DeVante Parker of the New England Patriots. So DeVante Parker, I know he's been an injury-prone wide receiver throughout his career. I know this week's a pretty tough matchup versus the New York Jets, but he's getting a lot of starter reps, is Parker, and he's available in 96% of fantasy leagues. So last week, after missing week 1, he had a decent ball game in PPR versus the Dolphins, 6 catches, 57 yards. So week 3 here, like I said, tough matchup at the Jets. But the first couple weeks here, we've seen some wide receivers go off versus the Jets defense. We saw week 1, Stephon Diggs, 10 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown. And then week 2, CeeDee Lamb, 11 catches, 143 yards. I'm not saying DeVante Parker is the type of receiver like those 2 stud receivers, but he's definitely the number 1 wide receiver right now over Juju Smith-Schuster, I believe, for this Patriot team. Him and Mac Jones have connected in the past and last week with some decent numbers. And this week here at the New York Jets, I think he could be under the radar type of player and a toss-up if you need a sleeper option. So that's a few wide receivers I have as sleepers here in week 3 of the fantasy football season.